Have you ever felt that almost imperceptible yet deeply unsettling flicker of uncertainty when transitioning from the deep, enveloping comfort of a favorite armchair back into the world of verticality? It is a fleeting moment, a microsecond of cognitive dissonance where your brain's command to stand is met with a hesitant, sluggish response from your legs. Or perhaps you have experienced it at the precipice of a staircase, your hand instinctively reaching for the banister, a sudden and unwelcome awareness that your internal gyroscope, your innate sense of balance, is not the reliable, unconscious servant it once was. For millions of individuals navigating the middle and later chapters of their lives, this quiet, insidious creep of leg weakness is too often rationalized away, dismissed as an unavoidable, non-negotiable tax of aging. It is seen as a slow, graceful, and perhaps even dignified surrender to a future defined by less movement, smaller ambitions, and a shrinking perimeter of activity. We are conditioned by societal narratives and even well-meaning medical advice to accept this decline as fate. But what if this entire narrative is fundamentally flawed? What if the persistent aches that settle deep within your thighs, the startling, agonizing cramps that seize your calves in the dead of night, and the growing, pervasive sense of instability that shadows your every step are not merely chronological markers? What if, instead, they are desperate, eloquent signals from your body, a frantic Morse code tapping out a message that it is being starved of the most essential, foundational tools it requires to maintain its structural integrity, its power, and its resilience? This is not about vanity. It is about the preservation of autonomy, dignity, and the very essence of a life lived on one's own terms. The difference between spending your golden years exploring new paths or being confined to familiar rooms can hinge on understanding and responding to these vital messages. Electrochemical orchestra that allows for smooth muscle contraction, the masons that build and reinforce the skeletal framework, and the electricians that maintain the pristine wiring of your nervous system. In the following discourse, we are poised to unlock the profound secrets that can not only arrest the seemingly inevitable decline of physical strength, but can actively reverse it, systematically rebuilding your body's capacity for powerful, stable movement. This is your opportunity to reclaim the strength, the power, and the profound independence you rightfully deserve. If you are finally ready to reject weakness as your predetermined fate and instead choose to become the master of your own physical destiny, then the information that follows is not merely beneficial, it is absolutely indispensable. Funcrease, vitamin D, the sunshine switch for muscle power. When the topic of vitamin D arises in conversation or health literature, our collective consciousness almost invariably gravitates towards its well-documented and critically important role in bone health. We have been taught to picture it as the inseparable and loyal partner to calcium, a dynamic duo working in concert to forge a robust and resilient skeleton. While this association is unequivocally true and forms a cornerstone of preventative health, to confine our understanding of vitamin D to this single function is to overlook its most profound, immediate, and often tragically ignored role as a master hormonal switch for the entirety of your body's muscular system. Its influence extends far beyond the passive prevention of brittle bones. It is about actively and directly fueling, programming, and maintaining the very muscles that support, move, and protect those bones. As we progress through the natural arc of life, our bodies become susceptible to a perfect storm of physiological and lifestyle changes that converge to create a state of widespread, chronic vitamin D deficiency. This is not a matter of isolated cases, but a silent, creeping epidemic that systematically erodes muscle strength and function from the inside out, often long before its effects on bone density become apparent. The skin, our primary site of vitamin D synthesis, grows thinner with age and loses its youthful efficiency in manufacturing this vital prohormone from the sun's UVB rays. Concurrently, our kidneys, the organ responsible for the final critical conversion of vitamin D into its most biologically active form, calcitriol, may become less adept at this task. Compounding these biological realities are modern lifestyle shifts. We spend an unprecedented amount of our lives indoors, shielded from direct sunlight, and when we do venture outside, we are often diligent, and rightly so, in our application of sunscreen, which effectively blocks the very rays needed for synthesis. The cumulative result is a systemic deficit that leaves our muscles starved, weakened, and vulnerable. The consequences of low circulating levels of vitamin D on muscle tissue are both direct and devastating. Scientific research has definitively linked vitamin D deficiency to a process known as sarcopenia, the age-related loss of muscle mass and function, and more specifically, to the preferential atrophy, or shrinking, of type 2 fast-twitch muscle fibers. These are not just any muscle fibers. They are the physiological bedrock of our physical security. They are the body's first responders, responsible for the rapid, powerful contractions needed for quick reactions, for maintaining balance when we trip over an unseen obstacle, and for generating the force required to prevent a simple stumble from escalating into a catastrophic, life-altering fall. When these fibers wither due to a lack of vitamin D, our reaction times slow, our gait becomes less stable, and our risk of falling skyrockets. Furthermore, vitamin D directly interacts with specific receptors located within the muscle cells themselves, known as vitamin D receptors, VDR. The activation of these receptors is essential for protein synthesis within the muscle, the process of building and repairing muscle tissue. Without adequate vitamin D to turn on these VDRs, your muscles struggle to receive and interpret the proper signals from the nervous system to contract and relax efficiently. This cellular miscommunication manifests as that familiar feeling of heavy, leaden legs, poor coordination, and a general sense of sluggishness that can make even the most mundane physical tasks, like rising from a chair or carrying groceries, feel like a monumental effort. Beyond its role in muscle synthesis and signaling, this powerhouse vitamin also exerts a potent anti-inflammatory effect. It works to downregulate the production of inflammatory cytokines within muscle tissue, thereby alleviating the chronic, nagging aches, deep-seated stiffness, and unexplained leg pain that plague so many older adults and are often mistakenly attributed solely to arthritis. Restoring your body's vitamin D levels through a multi-pronged approach, including sensible, safe sun exposure, the deliberate incorporation of fatty fish like wild-caught salmon, mackerel, and sardines, and, for many, the use of a high-quality, bioavailable D3 supplement, can be a truly transformative experience. It is akin to flipping a master switch back to the on position, reigniting your body's innate capacity to build, maintain, and command its muscles, allowing you to move through the world once again with renewed strength, confidence, and stability. Pure calcium, the unseen framework of strength. Calcium is universally celebrated as the primary building block of our skeletal system, the mineral that imbues our bones with the density and rigidity necessary to support our bodies against the relentless force of gravity. Yet, this perception, while accurate, captures only a fraction of its dynamic and indispensable role in our physiology. Calcium is the unsung hero, the invisible yet omnipresent element that provides the literal electrochemical framework for every single movement you make. Its functional significance extends far beyond the passive state of keeping your skeleton robust. It is an active, critical, and irreplaceable player in the breathtakingly complex and rapid dance of muscle contraction and relaxation. Every single time you decide to take a step forward, rise from a seated position, lift an object, or make a subtle, instantaneous adjustment to maintain your balance, the action is initiated by a precisely controlled surge of calcium ions. These charged particles are released from storage within the muscle cell and flood the muscle fibers, binding to specific proteins and unlocking the mechanism that allows the fibers to slide past one another and generate force. It is the fundamental trigger, the spark that ignites the engine of movement. Consequently, when your body's available pool of calcium is low, this entire system of vital communication and activation begins to break down. The nerve signal may be sent from the brain, but the muscle's response is muted and inefficient. muscles can feel profoundly weak, respond sluggishly to commands, or, in a state of severe imbalance, seize up in sudden, intensely painful cramps because they lack the essential triggering element for a smooth, controlled, and complete cycle of contraction and release. This isn't just a feeling of weakness. It's a physiological failure at the most basic level of human movement. For older adults, the stakes associated with maintaining adequate calcium levels are exponentially higher, creating a dangerous intersection of weakening muscles and a more fragile skeletal structure. As bone mass naturally and progressively declines with age, a process known as osteopenia, which can advance to osteoporosis, the long bones of the legs, the femur, tibia, and fibula, become particularly vulnerable to fracture. The very structure that needs to support weakening muscles is itself becoming compromised. In this precarious state, a minor fall or even a sudden, awkward twist that would have resulted in nothing more than a simple bruise and a moment of embarrassment in your youth can escalate into a life-altering event. A fracture of the hip or femur in an older adult is not merely a broken bone. It is often the catalyst for a cascade of negative health outcomes, including surgery, prolonged immobility, a significant loss of independence, and a markedly increased risk of mortality. This stark reality is why a diet consistently rich in highly absorbable calcium is absolutely non-negotiable for the preservation of mobility and independence throughout one's lifespan. While dairy products like milk, yogurt, and cheese are famously excellent sources, a wealth of calcium can also be found in a diverse array of other foods. Dark, leafy greens like kale, bok choy, and collard greens, as well as broccoli, almonds, and canned sardines or salmon, consumed with their soft, edible bones, are all fantastic contributors. Many common foods, such as orange juice, plant-based milks, and cereals, are now fortified with calcium, making it easier to meet daily requirements. However, it is a crucial physiological fact that calcium cannot perform its duties in isolation. It operates as part of a sophisticated nutrient team. It requires sufficient vitamin D for its proper absorption from the intestines into the bloodstream, and it relies on weight-bearing exercise to signal to the body where it is most needed. Activities like a brisk walk, dancing, or light resistance training do far more than just build muscle. They create micro-stresses on the skeleton, which in turn sends a powerful biological message to your body to direct that precious, newly absorbed calcium straight into the bone matrix of your legs and hips, reinforcing the very foundation of your mobility and fortifying you against the potentially devastating consequences of a fall. Doctor, the B vitamins, your neurological and energy powerhouse. While the structural integrity of muscles and bones provides the essential scaffolding for movement, it is the intricate and lightning-fast communication network of your nervous system that acts as the supreme command and control center. Every conscious step, every reflexive adjustment for balance, and every nuance of muscle control is governed by signals originating in the brain and traveling down the spinal cord to the peripheral nerves of the legs and feet. For this system to function with precision and reliability, nothing is more crucial than the family of B vitamins, particularly vitamin B12, cobalamin, and vitamin B6, pyridoxine. These vitamins are not just general health boosters. They play highly specific and irreplaceable roles in neurological function and energy metabolism. Think of these vitamins as the high-grade, multi-layered insulation surrounding the vast and complex electrical wiring of your body. Without proper insulation, signals can become weak, distorted, or short-circuit entirely, leading to a host of debilitating symptoms that directly impact leg strength and stability. This is why a deficiency in B vitamins can manifest not just as fatigue, but as a profound and frightening loss of physical control that mimics more serious neurological disorders, leaving individuals feeling disconnected from their own bodies. Vitamin B12 is particularly fundamental for maintaining the long-term health and integrity of your nerves. Its most critical function in this regard is its role in the formation and maintenance of the myelin sheath. This fatty, protective layer encases nerve fibers, much like the rubber coating on an electrical wire, and is absolutely essential for the rapid, efficient, and clear transmission of electrical signals or action potentials from your brain all the way down to the muscles in your legs and toes. As we age, a perfect storm of factors makes us highly susceptible to B12 deficiency. The production of stomach acid naturally declines, which is problematic because acid is needed to separate B12 from the protein it's attached to in food. Furthermore, the production of a special protein called intrinsic factor, which is required to absorb B12 in the small intestine, also diminishes. This age-related decline in absorption, known as atrophic gastritis, can lead to a severe deficiency even in individuals who consume adequate amounts of B12 in their diet. The neurological consequences of this shortage are often first felt in the extremities. A B12 deficiency can manifest as peripheral neuropathy, characterized by a persistent and distressing sensation of numbness, a pins and needles feeling, paresthesia, burning pains, or a bizarre, disconnected feeling in the feet and legs, as if one is walking on cotton. Many seniors who struggle with poor balance, a shuffling gait, or a sense that their legs simply are not listening to their commands are, in fact, experiencing the direct neurological fallout of a B12 shortage. Since vitamin B12 is found almost exclusively in animal-derived products such as meat, fish, eggs, and dairy, individuals following a vegetarian or vegan diet, as well as those with gastrointestinal conditions like Crohn's disease or celiac disease, are at an even higher risk and should be proactive about monitoring their levels and considering supplementation to ensure their crucial nerve pathways continue to fire with speed and precision. Vitamin B6, meanwhile, functions as the great regulator and facilitator of both muscle function and energy production, playing a different but equally vital role. It is a critical coenzyme involved in over 100 different metabolic reactions in the body. One of its most important jobs is its participation in the synthesis of neurotransmitters, the chemical messengers that bridge the gap between nerve endings and muscle cells. These include serotonin and dopamine, which influence mood and motivation, and norepinephrine, which is crucial for the fight-or-flight response. A lack of B6 can disrupt the delicate balance of these messengers, leading to poorly coordinated movements, involuntary muscle twitching, irritability, and a type of inflammation-related fatigue that saps a person's will to be active. Furthermore, and perhaps most directly related to the feeling of heavy, weak legs, vitamin B6 is absolutely vital for the production of hemoglobin, the protein within your red blood cells that is responsible for binding to and transporting oxygen from the lungs to every tissue in your body, including your hardworking leg muscles. If you have ever felt an unusual and disproportionate sense of fatigue or found your legs feeling heavy and weak after minimal physical exertion, it could be a subtle sign of a mild form of anemia caused by a B6 deficiency. Your muscles are literally being starved of the oxygen they need to produce energy efficiently. This forces them into anaerobic metabolism, which generates lactic acid and leads to that burning, tired sensation far more quickly than it should. Ensuring an adequate intake of B6 through a diet rich in foods like poultry, fish, especially tuna and salmon, potatoes, chickpeas, bananas, and fortified cereals provides your body with the necessary tools to ensure your muscles receive both the precise commands from the nervous system and the steady supply of oxygen-rich fuel required to carry you through your day with vigor and strength. Magnesium and potassium, the electrolyte duo for smooth movement. Have you ever been violently jolted from a deep and peaceful sleep by a sudden, excruciatingly painful cramp that seizes your calf or foot in an iron grip? Or perhaps you have felt that unsettling, persistent twitch or involuntary spasm in your thigh muscle during the day, a subtle but constant reminder that something is amiss. These common and often distressing experiences are not random acts of physiological rebellion. They are frequently the telltale signs of an imbalance in two of the body's most critical minerals, magnesium and potassium. These elements are classified as electrolytes, meaning they carry an electrical charge when dissolved in body fluids, and they act as the master regulators of neuromuscular function, fluid balance, and cellular communication. They work in a state of perfect dynamic harmony to ensure that your muscles contract with force and precision when you need them to, and, just as importantly, that they fully and completely relax when you do not. This balance is the very essence of smooth, controlled, and pain-free movement. A disruption in this delicate partnership can lead to a wide spectrum of issues, from minor twitches to debilitating weakness and painful, persistent cramping that can severely impact quality of life and discourage physical activity. Magnesium is, without exaggeration, the body's ultimate relaxation mineral. Its primary role in the neuromuscular system is to act as a natural and highly effective calcium channel blocker. In the complex process of muscle contraction, calcium floods into the muscle cell to initiate the on switch. Magnesium is the off switch. It competes with calcium at the cellular level, calming overactive nerve signals and preventing the muscle from becoming stuck in a state of perpetual, low-grade contraction. When magnesium levels are adequate, muscles can fully release tension, allowing for proper rest and recovery. Unfortunately, magnesium deficiency is incredibly common in modern society, verging on being a hidden pandemic. Our agricultural soils are often depleted of this vital mineral, and modern food processing techniques can strip it away. Furthermore, magnesium is rapidly depleted from the body by chronic psychological stress, the consumption of sugar and alcohol, and a long list of common medications, including diuretics, water pills, and proton pump inhibitors used for acid reflux. When magnesium levels fall too low, the body loses its ability to effectively counteract the excitatory effects of calcium. The result is a cascade of neuromuscular excitability, leading to the hallmark symptoms of restless leg syndrome, debilitating nighttime leg cramps, persistent muscle twitching, and a pervasive, anachronistic feeling of tightness and stiffness in the legs and back. It is the mineral that allows your body to truly let go. Potassium works as the indispensable partner to magnesium, orchestrating the delicate balance of fluids both inside and outside of your body's cells and ensuring the smooth, uninterrupted transmission of nerve signals along their designated pathways. It is a key component of the sodium-potassium pump, a mechanism present in every cell of your body that actively works to maintain the proper electrochemical gradient across the cell membrane. This gradient is, in essence, the stored electrical potential, the battery power that allows for nerve impulses to fire and muscles to contract. When potassium levels are low, a condition known as hypokalemia, this delicate balance is profoundly disrupted. This can be caused by excessive sweating, chronic diarrhea or vomiting, the use of certain diuretic medications, or simply a diet lacking in potassium-rich foods. The consequences for the muscular system are immediate and significant. The most prominent symptom is a profound and generalized muscle weakness that can make legs feel heavy, unresponsive, and easily fatigued. It can also lead to involuntary muscle contractions and cramps as the nerve signals become erratic and unstable. While bananas are famously celebrated as a good source of potassium, you can find even higher concentrations in a variety of other delicious and healthy foods, such as sweet potatoes, spinach, avocados, white beans, and coconut water. Ensuring that you remain well hydrated, particularly during exercise or hot weather, and consciously consuming a diet rich in both of these critical electrolyte minerals is one of the single most effective and direct strategies you can employ to prevent the agony of painful cramps, soothe restless legs, and empower your muscles to move with a fluid, effortless, and powerful grace. Vitamin K, the body's traffic controller. While the synergistic relationship between vitamin D and calcium is central to building strong bones, with vitamin D acting as the key that unlocks the door for calcium absorption into the body, there is another, often overlooked nutrient that plays an equally critical role in this process: vitamin K. If vitamin D is the gatekeeper, then vitamin K is the intelligent, discerning traffic controller that directs that absorbed calcium with pinpoint precision to exactly where it needs to go. This nutrient is the critical, non-negotiable link that ensures calcium is shuttled to and deposited into your bones and teeth, where it is desperately needed for strength and structure, rather than being allowed to accumulate hazardously in your arteries and other soft tissues. The misdirection of calcium is not a benign event. It is a pathological process with serious consequences. When calcium ends up in the wrong places, such as the lining of your blood vessels, it contributes to arterial calcification, or the hardening of the arteries. This leads to stiff, inflexible blood vessels, poor circulation, and a dramatically increased risk of serious cardiovascular events like heart attacks and strokes. This impaired circulation directly impacts the health and function of your legs, as muscles are deprived of the steady flow of oxygen and nutrients they need to perform optimally. Furthermore, calcium deposits in the soft tissues of joints can exacerbate pain and stiffness, directly compromising your mobility. The mechanism by which vitamin K directs this calcium traffic is a marvel of biochemistry. Vitamin K is essential for activating a number of specific proteins in the body through a process called carboxylation. Two of the most important of these proteins are osteocalcin and matrix GLA protein, MGP. Osteocalcin is a protein produced by bone-building cells, osteoblasts. In its inactive state, it is useless. Vitamin K activates osteocalcin, which then acts like a type of biological glue, effectively capturing calcium from the bloodstream and binding it directly to the mineral matrix of your bones. Numerous large-scale observational studies have consistently and powerfully demonstrated that older adults with higher dietary intake and circulating levels of vitamin K have significantly greater bone mineral density, particularly in the hip and spine, and a substantially lower risk of fractures compared to those with lower vitamin K status. But the benefits of this remarkable vitamin do not stop at the bone. Vitamin K also possesses potent anti-inflammatory properties, which can be profoundly beneficial for soothing the aching, swollen joints that so often limit mobility in later life. It has been shown to slow the progression of osteoarthritis, particularly in the weight-bearing joints of the knees and hips, by reducing the levels of inflammatory markers in the body. By calming this inflammation, it can directly alleviate the chronic pain and stiffness that make movement a painful and discouraging chore. Emerging research is even beginning to uncover a more direct role for vitamin K in muscle health, suggesting that it supports muscle strength, mass, and physical performance, possibly by helping to regulate calcium signaling within the muscle cells themselves or by protecting muscle tissue from age-related inflammatory damage. To effectively harness the power of this vital nutrient, it is important to understand that it comes in two primary forms: vitamin K1, phylloquinone, and vitamin K2, a group of compounds called menaquinones. Vitamin K1 is found abundantly in dark, leafy green vegetables such as spinach, kale, collard greens, and broccoli. Its primary role is related to blood clotting, which is how it was first discovered. Vitamin K2, however, is now understood to be the form that is far more active and important for directing calcium and supporting bone and cardiovascular health. Unfortunately, vitamin K2 is much rarer in the modern Western diet. It is produced by bacteria, so it is found in fermented foods and in the meat and dairy products of animals that have been pasture-raised and have eaten K1-rich grasses. The absolute richest food source of vitamin K2 is a traditional Japanese fermented soybean dish called natto, which has a very strong and acquired taste. More accessible sources include certain aged cheeses like Gouda and Brie, as well as egg yolks from pasture-raised hens, butter from grass-fed cows, and the dark meat of chicken. By making a conscious effort to include a variety of these K1 and K2-rich foods in your regular diet, you are doing more than just supplementing. You are providing your body with the sophisticated biological intelligence it needs to ensure that its most important structural building block, calcium, gets delivered directly to the sites where it is needed most, fortifying your bones and keeping your joints and arteries clear, ultimately ensuring that you remain strong, steady, and mobile for years to come.